Hi guys, how you doing? Okay, so why do I make my videos from the car? Well, because it's easier. Yeah, how you doing, people? How you doing? Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my very first video with my face in it on YouTube. Yeah, so anyway, today I want to talk about what is it like moving from your African home in Africa, not just African home elsewhere. I don't know how it's like in African homes anywhere else outside Africa, but in Africa, as a lady, moving out of your parents' home when you're not married is let's just say it's kind of tricky and weird. It's not the easiest thing. Yeah, I've moved out of home twice. If I count uni, then I would say 3 times. But apparently, according to my parents, when I went to uni, that was not me moving out of home. That was me just going to uni because I was going to come back. I was still practically under their roof, according to them. So even though I was not living with them, I was living with them. I don't know if that makes sense. So when I was done with uni, I came back home. I went to uni overseas, so I came back home. And then I was used to living alone for 5 years. I lived alone. I did what I wanted. I ate what I wanted. To come back and live in another person's house, it just felt strange. I mean, those who've been through this can understand. It was very strange. So I thought, I can't do this. I can't live home. I can't live at home. So as soon as I got a job, or not really a job, I was self-employed for a little bit. So as soon as I had a bit of cash coming through, I found myself a really tiny and really, really cheap house. Because for me, I've never been one of those people that minds where they live. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not so fussy about where I live, because I believe in the saying, it's not where you live, it's how you live. So I found myself this little house in somebody's backyard. They had created this nice little cottage. Had a bedroom, a living room. It had a small kitchen. It was a perfect little house for a young single girl like myself at the time. So I told my parents I'd found a house, and they were like, "What do you mean you found a house? Right here in Lusaka?" And I'm like, yes, right here in Lusaka. Well, why would you want to move out of your parents' house and live in another house right here in Lusaka? Why wouldn't you just want to live here? And I said, well, you know what? I just don't want to live at home. I think I'm grown. I need to live outside home. And yeah, it brought so much tension between me and my dad. I had to explain myself. Like, this is where our friendship, our relationship, me and my dad, started to break down. Because originally we had been really, really, really close. My dad and I, me growing up, we were very, very close. But ever since I was done with uni, we have had a really estranged relationship. So that's where it started. It was really tough, but I moved out anyway. And you know what my dad told me? He said, even if you move out of this house, you should know that we will never ever visit your house, because it doesn't make sense for me to leave my house and say I'm going to visit my daughter at her house. You're not married, you're not okay. So in Africa, there's this emphasis on marriage when a girl's of age, and according to them of age, I think anywhere between the age of 22 to 30, between that period, you should be married. So at that time, I was 22. Yeah, so I moved out of home, started living alone. It was nice for me because I lost a lot of weight. When you live alone, you don't cook, you don't do a lot of things. So there was no cooking, there was no, I'll just eat whatever I would eat at lunch at work, and that was it. So I lost a lot of weight, but it wasn't really, I don't think it was really nice, because I would kind of feel guilty, for living home at such, with my parents not agreeing with what I did, so it really felt strange, but I moved out anyway, and I stayed alone, I think, for like almost a year. And then my family, they moved into a bigger house. And when they were moving into a bigger house, most of my middle siblings were also in universities all over the place. So the house was pretty much empty. It was just my mom and my two last siblings. And the house was just too big for them. So I just thought, you know what, why not just go back home and just make peace? It's not nice, like, not living with your parents and them being upset with you. So I went back home. And yeah, but when I go back home, like, I used to feel very suffocated. And as much as, yeah, it was a big house, you had so much room, you had so much space to yourself, but just the atmosphere, the environment, I felt suffocated a lot. Like, I felt like, I just didn't have peace. Like, oh my God, why am I back? Every time I'd ask myself, why am I back? And then on top of that, I got pregnant and I had a baby in my parents' home. Now, in Africa, I don't know about other cultures, I'm going to talk about my culture. Having a child outside wedlock is frowned upon, especially if you're coming from a Christian family, and it's really frowned upon. And that just caused a lot more tension now with my parents. It's just, oh my God, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. Yeah, it was the worst, actually. Of all the experiences that I've had in my life, me having a baby and getting pregnant at home was the worst experience ever. Like, wow, I've never talked about this. I have never, ever talked about this. I didn't know how much it hit me. Like, I thought I was past this, because my son is now almost 4 years old. So it's a long time ago. I didn't know that this is how much it affected me. Oh, wow. Oh God. Oh my God. Maybe I need counseling. Oh Lord. Whew. Whew. Jesus. Okay. So I didn't. Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord. Anyway. Oh my God. So when I had my baby, I just continued to feel so suffocated, and just thought, oh my God. So I just told my mom, I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna move out again. But this time I'm gonna move out for good. I think I shouldn't be living at home. I think I'm just too grown to be living at home, It just doesn't make sense. And my mother was she didn't actually take it seriously. She didn't actually think I was serious. So she didn't even put much mind to it. I said, you know what, Mom? I'm gonna start buying furniture bit by bit, and once I'm ready with all the furniture that I need, I'm gonna find a place and I'm gonna move out. Okay? And also just the dynamics of being at home, having a little boy. He's so naughty, he would damage property, and so I just didn't want that, because he was always damaging things, like today he breaks this, tomorrow he breaks that. And so I just thought, you know what, I don't want to damage my parents' retirement home. These guys have worked so hard all their lives. They've bought all these expensive ornaments and all these expensive things. I don't want him to be breaking them. It just didn't feel right. So I just thought, you know what, let me just move out. And that was also another drama on its own, because this time around when I moved, I just said, you know what, I'm moving, and I just moved. Oh my god. I should write a book. Yeah, I should write a book about my life, because whew, so many amazing things have happened that have taught me so much, and I think I should share them. Share my life history. Anyway, so it's, yeah, moving out of a part of an African home as a single woman is really not that easy, and it's really not looked at, even though Africa is now slowly becoming open to that idea. There's still a lot of parents and a lot of families that don't like the idea. So when you decide to move out of home, you just find yourself like being talked about by relatives. You know, they would actually even have a whole committee of relatives coming to talk to you just so that you can change your mind, because apparently it brings shame upon the family. But I don't think it should bring shame. I think parents should be proud of their children. When their children say they want to move out, it means that they are finally ready to take care of themselves. I mean, isn't that the whole purpose of parenthood? To take care of, to raise your child to the point where they're now ready to take care of themselves and another person. I don't know. For me, I would want my son to actually move out of my house when he's 18 years old. I'll make sure I raise him up so that when he's 18 years old, he's ready to move out of home. You know, I don't think it's a good idea to continue babying somebody. And I was babied, okay? I was, oh my goodness, I was spoiled. I was a spoiled child. Like, I'm not even kidding. Very, very, very spoiled. And I don't think that's a good way to, you know, do things. Obviously, my parents had their own reasons for raising us up like that, but oh god, I don't think I would raise my son up like that. Because, oh, we were spoiled. We were spoiled children. Okay. So yeah, moving out of home as a single lady for your parents. I'm like, for the guys, they can move out whenever they want. Actually, by the way, they can move out whenever they want. But the girls, apparently, when you move out, you know, bring shame upon the family. So it's like you're embarrassing your family. And I'm just one of those people who I have no time to explain my point across. The only time that I will explain a point across to somebody is if that point is gaining me money. Okay? That's the only time that I'm going to explain a point across. Like, if I'm trying to tell you why I'm doing something and you don't want to understand me, I feel like I'm not going to waste my time trying to tell you what I want. Like, this is my life. So when my parents were being so difficult and just, you know, not wanting to understand my point of view, I just didn't have the energy to explain myself. You know, this is why the second time when I moved out, I didn't even have a conversation. I just told them I'm moving out and that's it. But the first time, I tried to sit them down and explain, to say I'm moving out because of A, B, C, D, 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 and they refused to get it. They refused to understand it. So the second time around was this time. Now it was because I moved out when I was 22, came back home when I was 23, I think. You're 23. So yeah, 23. Then I moved out again when I was 27. So by the time I was 27, I was so grown up. Like, now it was just like, now you guys, I will not try to explain to you anything because we've had this talk before. So I just said, Mom, I'm gonna move out, so I'm gonna start buying furniture bits by bits, and once I'm done getting the furniture that I want, I'm just gonna move out and that's it. Oh no, you wouldn't do that. Like, my mom just didn't take it seriously. She didn't think that I was gonna do it. But you know what, I did it. I moved, and I've been living me and my baby ever since. So now my boy is turning 4 at the end of this year because he's a November baby. So yeah, I don't regret anything. You know, I don't regret anything because I have so much peace now. And yeah, I just have so much peace. The thing with growing up in an African home, your parents dictate your life, like every single bit of it. So that's what they wanted. It was the control that they wanted, you know? Just to control your life, just be in your life like 24/7. Just when you come home a bit late, and by late, okay, when I say you come home a bit late, I mean coming home at 18:30, 19 hours. That's late for my parents. So as soon as the sun's just going in, you should be in the house. It was just not easy to do that, you know? Because I was just coming from a point where I was living alone, and I had lived alone before. I came home whatever time I wanted, to being told you can't come home after 7 p.m. And if you ask for permission to go out with your friends, say you go for dinner or whatever, right? Dinner starts at 7, guys. 7:30, you will get phone calls of, where are you? Why are you not yet home? So it was really tricky. I think my advice to African parents is, especially if you still have this mentality, is snap out of it. The world we're living in now is not the same world you were living in then. We're in a whole different world, like a whole different one. Okay, so parents just need, just I thank God I'm a parent as well, and I'm never gonna do that.